The cold stone floor of the chapel bit through Amelie Stratton's knees, but she didn't care. Blood trickled from her split lip, metallic and warm against her tongue. Her hands trembled as she pressed them together, and the words spilled out in desperate English, the only language that felt real when everything else had become a nightmare. Please. If you're listening. I don't know what else to do. Her whisper echoed in the empty Sicilian chapel, barely louder than her racing heartbeat. Outside, the narrow streets of Palermo were waking up, but in here shadows clung to the corners like secrets that refused to leave. She'd been running for 3 days. 3 days since she'd seen what she wasn't supposed to see. 3 days since her photography assignment had turned into a death sentence. She didn't hear the door open behind her. Didn't hear the footsteps that moved with the practiced silence of a man who'd learned long ago that noise meant weakness, meant vulnerability, meant someone knew you were coming. Dante Costello stopped 3 meters from the kneeling woman, his dark eyes taking in every detail with the precision that had kept him alive in a world where trust was currency and betrayal was inflation. American. Young, maybe 27, 28. Expensive camera bag discarded beside her, one strap torn. Bruise forming on her left cheekbone. Running. He should have turned around. Should have pretended he never saw her. His morning routine of visiting his mother's memorial chapel was sacred, private. No one came here. No one knew he came here. That was the point. But then she spoke again. I'm so scared, Amelie whispered, her voice cracking. They killed him right in front of me. Antonio. He was just trying to help me get the shot of the market and they… God, there was so much blood. And now they're looking for me because I have the photos and I don't even know what's in them that's worth killing for. And I can't go to the police because Antonio said with his last breath, don't trust the police. And I… Her words dissolved into a sob she tried to muffle with her hand. Dante's jaw tightened. Antonio. Antonio Messina. The name landed in his consciousness like a stone in still water, sending ripples of recognition and consequence in every direction. The freelance journalist who'd been found dead in the Bolaro market yesterday morning. The police were calling it a robbery gone wrong. But Dante Costello hadn't built his empire by believing what the police said. His hand moved inside his jacket, fingers brushing the cold grip of his Beretta. Not to draw it, not yet. But to remind himself that mercy was a luxury men like him couldn't afford. She was a complication. A witness to something that had made someone nervous enough to kill. In his world, you eliminated complications before they eliminated you. Do me a favor, if you're feeling this tension right now, if you're already wondering what happens next, drop a comment and let me know. Are you team he should help her? Or team he should walk away? I want to know what you're thinking. Amelie's prayer shifted, became something rawer. I don't want to die in a foreign country. I don't want my mom to get a call from the embassy saying they found her daughter in an alley. Please just show me a way out. A sign. Anything. Dante's mother used to pray like that. Desperate. Honest. Before his father's enemies had shown her that prayers didn't stop bullets. He should walk away. His phone buzzed silently in his pocket. Probably his lieutenant Enzo wondering where he was. In 15 minutes, he had a meeting with the Albanians who were pushing into the port territories. In 3 hours, he had to sit across from a city councilman who needed reminding about the terms of their arrangement. In 6 hours, he had to decide whether the Russo family's offer of alliance was genuine or a Trojan horse. A crying American photographer with a death wish didn't fit into his schedule. Amelie pushed herself to her feet, wincing. She grabbed her camera bag, slinging it over her shoulder with visible effort. Her hand went to her ribs, probably bruised or cracked from whoever had gotten to her before she'd escaped. She moved toward the side exit, limping slightly. She would be dead by nightfall. Dante knew this with the certainty of a man who'd seen how this story ended 100 times. She was wounded, alone, in a city that ate tourists alive even when they weren't carrying evidence of a murder. Whoever wanted her dead had resources, the kind of resources that meant they had people at the airport, the train station, every hotel. She probably had a day at most. Maybe hours. Not his problem. He turned toward the main altar, toward his mother's memorial plaque, trying to find the center of calm he usually discovered in this space. But Amelie's voice echoed in his mind. I don't want my mom to get a call from the embassy. His mother never got a call. She'd been right there in their home when they'd come. Dante had been 14, hiding in the pantry where she'd shoved him, listening to her scream. He'd sworn two things that night: that he'd become powerful enough that no one would ever make him hide again, and that he'd never let emotion override strategy. One of those promises had made him the most feared man in Sicily. The other was about to break. For Marcy, he said quietly. Stop. Amelie froze at the side door, her hand on the ancient wood. She turned slowly, and for the first time their eyes met. Dante saw the exact moment she understood what he was. The fear that flickered across her face wasn't the general anxiety of a woman alone. It was recognition. Maybe not of him specifically, but of the archetype. The expensive suit that fit too perfectly. The stillness that came from absolute confidence. The eyes that had seen death and caused it. She knew she was looking at a predator. You speak English? Her voice was steadier than he'd expected. I do many things, Dante replied, his accent flavoring the words. Including wonder why an American photographer is praying in my family's private chapel with evidence of a murder in her camera bag. The color drained from her face. Your family's chapel? How long have they been hunting you? Amelie's throat worked as she swallowed. This was it, the moment where she either ran or made the most dangerous gamble of her life. 3 days, she whispered. How long do I have left? Dante's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his dark eyes. Something that might have been respect for her bluntness, or might have been the last flicker of the boy who'd once believed in answered prayers. Without help. He tilted his head slightly. Hours. Maybe less. And with help. Now that was the question, wasn't it? The question that would change everything for both of them in ways neither could possibly anticipate. Dante Costello pulled his phone from his pocket and sent a quick text. Meeting delayed. Handle the Albanians. D. Then he looked at the terrified, determined American woman who'd stumbled into his sanctuary, and made a decision that would either save her life or destroy his empire. With help, he said softly, you might live long enough to regret asking. Get in the car. Don't ask questions. Don't use your phone. Don't speak unless I tell you to. Dante's black Mercedes waited in the alley behind the chapel, so perfectly positioned it was clear he'd done this before. Extracted people who needed to disappear. Amelie slid into the back seat, her camera bag clutched to her chest like a shield. 10 minutes later, they pulled into an underground garage beneath a building that screamed old money and older secrets. Inside the penthouse, Amelie finally got a clear look at the man who'd just become either her savior or her captor. Dante Costello was perhaps 35, with dark hair precisely cut, a jawline that could have been carved from Carrara marble, and eyes that seemed to calculate the value and threat of everything they landed on. He moved like violence wrapped in civilization. Sit, he said, gesturing to a leather chair. Tell me everything. And I'll know if you're lying. Amelie's hands shook as she set down her camera bag. My name is Amelie Stratton. I'm a freelance photographer from Boston. I was here on assignment for a travel magazine, just supposed to capture authentic Sicily. Street markets, old architecture, local life. Nothing complicated. Go on. 4 days ago, I met Antonio Messina at a cafe. He was a local journalist, friendly, offered to show me the best spots for photos. Yesterday morning we were at Bolaro Market. I was shooting the fish vendors, the colors, the crowds. Her voice cracked. Antonio suddenly grabbed my arm, pulled me toward a side street. He'd seen something that excited him. Some men unloading crates behind a restaurant. He said it might be a real story, not just tourist shots. Dante's expression remained neutral, but his fingers drummed once against his knee. Listening. Calculating. I started shooting. Didn't think anything of it. Just men, boxes, a delivery. But Antonio got closer, and one of the men saw us. Everything happened so fast. Tears spilled down her cheeks. They shot him. Just like that. Antonio fell and he looked at me and said, "Run. Don't trust the police. The photos." And then he was gone. "And you ran." "I ran. They chased me through the market. I lost them in the crowds, but I knew they'd keep looking." She wiped her eyes. "I've been sleeping in hostels under fake names, paying cash. I went to that chapel this morning because I couldn't think of anywhere else to go. I thought churches were supposed to be sanctuaries." "That one is," Dante said quietly. "Which is why you're still breathing." Before Amelie could respond, the door opened. A man entered without knocking, mid-40s, stocky, with the weathered face of someone who'd survived things he'd never discuss. His eyes went immediately to Amelie, assessing her the way you'd assess a bomb that might or might not be live. "Enzo," Dante said. "This is Amelie." "Amelie, this is Enzo Wickham, my head of security." "Boss, a word." Enzo's English was thickly accented but clear. They stepped into the hallway, but Amelie could hear fragments of their heated whispered argument. "Absolutely insane. I'm aware of the risks. Since when do we rescue American tourists?" "Not a rescue, Enzo. It's information. She has photos." "Then take the camera and dump her." There was a long silence. Then Dante's voice, cold as winter. "We don't dump civilians. Get the photos analyzed. Find out what she saw that was worth killing for." "And Enzo?" "No one knows she's here. No one." When they returned, Dante's expression was unreadable. "Give me the camera." Amelie hesitated, then handed it over. It was her only leverage, and she was giving it to a man who radiated danger like heat from a flame. Dante passed it to Enzo, who disappeared without another word. "Why are you helping me?" Amelie asked. "You don't know me." Dante walked to the window, looking out over Palermo's terracotta rooftops. "My mother used to pray in that chapel. Every morning. She prayed for protection, for her family, for mercy." He paused. "God didn't answer. But maybe today in her place I can." It was the first crack in his armor, and Amelie saw something unexpected beneath the cold exterior, grief old and deep, that had calcified into something harder. What happened to her? She trusted the wrong people. He turned back to face her. "A mistake I don't intend to repeat. You'll stay here until we know what you photographed and who wants you dead. You'll follow my rules. You'll trust my judgment. 'Cause out there you're already a ghost. In here you might have a chance." Amelie nodded slowly, understanding the bargain she was making. She was trading one kind of danger for another, but at least this danger was looking her in the eye instead of hunting her through the streets. "Thank you," she whispered. Dante's jaw tightened. "Don't thank me yet. You might not survive long enough to mean it." Enzo returned within the hour, his face grim. He connected a laptop to the large screen on Dante's wall and pulled up the photographs without preamble. "You need to see this, boss." The images filled the screen, vibrant market scenes, laughing vendors, colorful produce. Then the sequence Antonio had been excited about. Men unloading crates behind Ristorante Verde. Amelie's professional eye had captured everything in sharp detail, including the faces. Dante's entire body went rigid. "Zoom in on the third man." Enzo complied. The man's face filled the screen, 50s, graying hair. Expensive watch visible even in the candid shot. "That's Counselor Ricci," Amelie said quietly. "I looked him up after. He's been in the news, some anti-corruption campaign he's running." "Anti-corruption," Dante repeated, his voice like ice. Next photo. The sequence continued. Ricci shaking hands with another man. Money exchanging hands. And then the crates being opened to reveal what appeared to be weapons, military grade, from what Amelie could see. "Cristo," Enzo breathed. Dante's expression was carved from stone. "That's Luca Draven. Albanian syndicate. We've been trying to find out who's been backing their port expansion for 6 months." He turned to Amelie. "Congratulations. You accidentally photographed one of the biggest arms deals in southern Italy, facilitated by a city councilor who's supposed to be cleaning up organized crime." "Oh God," Amelie whispered. "Next photo," Dante commanded. Enzo clicked. The final image made the room go silent. In the background, barely visible but unmistakable to Dante's trained eye, was another man, younger, watching the exchange with the posture of someone supervising. Is that? Enzo started. Paolo, Dante finished, his voice deadly quiet. My cousin Paolo. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Amelie looked between them, sensing she just stepped into something far more complex than a random murder cover-up. Your cousin is working with the Albanians? She asked carefully. Dante didn't answer immediately. His mind was clearly racing through implications, connections, betrayals. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty and absolute fury. 3 months ago, someone started leaking information about our shipping routes. We lost 2 major shipments. I've been bleeding money and credibility. He turned to face Amelie, and she saw something dangerous burning behind his eyes. You didn't just photograph a crime, Miss Stratton. You photographed a coup. Paolo's been positioning himself to take over my organization, and he's using the Albanians to do it. Which means, Enzo added grimly, Ricci's murder squad isn't just protecting an arms deal. They're protecting Paolo's investment in his future as the new boss. Amelie's stomach dropped. So they'll never stop looking for me. No, Dante agreed. They won't. Because if these photos surface, Paolo loses everything. The Albanians lose their political cover. Ricci loses his career and his freedom. He stepped closer to her, his dark eyes intense. And that makes you the most dangerous person in Sicily right now. Before anyone could respond, Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something shifted in his expression. Paolo just requested an emergency family meeting. Tonight. Says there's a security matter that requires my immediate attention. He looked at Enzo. He's going to propose finding the dangerous American photographer who killed Antonio Messina. They're going to frame her for the murder, Enzo realized, and ask for my resources to hunt her down. Dante's smile was sharp and cold. Which means I have to stand in a room with the man plotting to kill me and pretend I don't know he's a traitor, while protecting the woman who holds the only evidence that can expose him. Amelie's voice was barely a whisper. What do we do? Dante looked at her for a long moment. She was terrified. He could see it in the tension of her shoulders, the rapid pulse at her throat, but she was holding his gaze. Not looking away. Demanding to be part of the solution, not just a victim to be protected. Something unexpected stirred in his chest. Respect. And something else he didn't have time to examine. We, he said slowly, are going to do something very dangerous. I'm going to that meeting. And you're coming with me. Boss, Enzo started. The safest place for her is where no one would ever expect her to be, Dante continued. Right under Paolo's nose. Besides. His eyes glinted with something almost like satisfaction. I want to see his face when he realizes the prey he's hunting is already caught. Just not by him. He extended his hand to Amelie. Do you trust me? It was an absurd question. She'd known him for barely 3 hours. He was a mafia boss who dealt in violence and power. Every rational instinct should be screaming at her to run. But his hand was steady. His eyes held a strange kind of honor. And most importantly, he was the only thing standing between her and a bullet. Amelie placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, certain. I trust you, she said. The lie detector in Dante's soul, the one that had kept him alive through countless betrayals, remained silent. She meant it. Then let's go remind my cousin, Dante said softly, that the most dangerous move in chess isn't the one you see coming. It's the one hiding in plain sight. Dante's penthouse had a room Amelie hadn't seen, a walk-in closet that looked like a boutique. He gestured to the women's section without explanation. You'll need to look like you belong to my world, he said. Choose something elegant, conservative, nothing that draws extra attention. You keep women's clothes in your apartment? The question came out before Amelie could stop it. Something flickered across Dante's face. My sister visits sometimes. She leaves things. He paused at the door. 30 minutes. Enzo will do your makeup. He has daughters. He knows what he's doing. Left alone, Amelie ran her fingers over silk and cashmere, labels she recognized from magazines she couldn't afford. She chose a simple black dress, sophisticated, understated. When she emerged, Dante was in a fresh suit, charcoal gray that made him look even more formidable. His eyes traveled over her once, quick and assessing. Good. You look like money, not prey. Enzo appeared with a makeup kit, surprisingly gentle as he covered her bruises with expert precision. My daughters do theater, he explained, catching her surprised expression. I've learned things. As he worked, Dante stood at the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. Amelie caught fragments. Sir, bring extra security. No, tell them nothing. Be ready for anything. When Enzo finished, Amelie looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The terrified photographer had disappeared behind a polished mask. One more thing, Dante said. He produced a delicate gold necklace, surprisingly simple. You need to look claimed. Attached to me. It's the only way they won't question your presence. He stepped behind her to fasten it. His fingers brushed the nape of her neck, and Amelie felt an electric current run down her spine. In the mirror their eyes met. Who am I supposed to be? She asked quietly. At this meeting? Someone I'm protecting. That's all they need to know. His hands lingered a moment longer than necessary on her shoulders. In that room you don't speak unless spoken to. You don't react to anything you hear. And you stay within arm's reach of me at all times. Understood. Why are you really doing this? The question had been building since the chapel. This isn't just about your mother's memory, is it? Dante's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Paolo killed my father. Made it look like a rival family's work. I couldn't prove it. I was only 23, too young, too angry. He became my advisor, helped me take control, played the loyal cousin. His eyes hardened. I've been waiting 8 years for proof. You just handed it to me. The honesty stole her breath. This wasn't just protection, it was strategy. She was a weapon he could use against his enemy. So I'm bait, she said. You're a catalyst. He turned her to face him, his hands on her arms. But I don't sacrifice my pieces, Amelie. You walk out of this alive. That's not negotiable. The way he said her name, careful, like he was tasting something foreign but not unpleasant, made her heart stutter. In the car Dante briefed her. The meeting is at my grandfather's estate. Neutral ground. 20 family members plus security. Paolo will make his case about the dangerous American. Watch his eyes when he describes you. He'll be looking for recognition, for fear. Give him nothing. What if someone recognizes me? From a wanted poster or... There are no posters. They're hunting you quietly. Too much noise raises questions they can't answer. He glanced at her. But if something goes wrong, if I tell you to run, you run. Enzo will be outside. He'll get you out. And leave you. I've survived worse odds. The estate appeared through iron gates. A sprawling villa that had witnessed generations of secrets. Armed men flanked the entrance. Dante's hand found the small of Amelie's back as they walked in. A gesture of possession that was purely theatrical but felt disturbingly real. The meeting room was all dark wood and darker history. Men in expensive suits stood in clusters, conversations dying as Dante entered. And there, at the head of the table, was Paolo Costello. He was handsome in a sharp, calculating way, younger than Dante by a few years, with the same dark eyes but none of the depth. When he saw Amelie, his expression flickered, just for a microsecond, with surprise then careful blankness. Dante, Paolo said warmly, embracing his cousin. Thank you for coming on short notice. And you've brought... a guest. A friend, Dante replied smoothly. She's visiting from America. I hope you don't mind. The lie was so casual, so perfect, that Amelie almost believed it herself. Paolo's smile didn't reach his eyes. Of course not. Family business is still family business, but a beautiful woman makes any meeting more pleasant. They took their seats. Amelie positioned herself slightly behind Dante, playing the part of decorative companion. But her heart was hammering because across the table, Paolo was staring at her with the intensity of a man trying to solve a puzzle. He knew. Not for certain, but he suspected. And in that moment, Amelie realized Dante's strategy was even more dangerous than she'd thought. This wasn't just about hiding her in plain sight. He was dangling her in front of Paolo like a mystery his cousin couldn't resist solving, forcing the traitor to make a mistake to reveal himself. She was bait after all. But as Dante's hand found hers under the table, squeezing once in reassurance, Amelie realized something else. She wasn't just a weapon in his war. She was becoming something far more dangerous to a man like Dante Costello. She was becoming someone he cared about protecting. Paolo called the meeting to order, his voice smooth as poison. We have a situation. 4 days ago, a journalist named Antonio Messina was killed in Bolaro Market. The police believe it was random violence, but we have different information. Dante's expression remained neutral. What kind of information? There was a witness. An American photographer. Paolo clicked a remote, and Amelie's passport photo filled a screen on the wall, clearly obtained through corrupt contacts. Amelie Stratton. She took photographs of the incident. We believe she may have evidence that could be problematic for our operations. Murmurs rippled through the room. Amelie forced herself to remain perfectly still, though seeing her own face projected 10 feet high made her blood run cold. Problematic how? An older family member asked. The photographer may have captured images of certain business arrangements we prefer remained private, Paolo said carefully. She's been missing for 3 days. Clearly running. We need to find her before she goes to authorities or the media. Dante leaned back in his chair. And if we find her? Paolo's smile was chilling. We retrieve the photographs. And we ensure her silence. Permanently. You want family resources for a manhunt? Dante's voice was measured, revealing nothing. That's an expensive ask for one American tourist. Not just any tourist. Paolo's eyes flicked to Amelie then away, but it was enough. Someone's already protecting her. She's evaded professional trackers for 3 days. That takes resources. Money. Which means someone powerful has an interest in keeping her alive, and those photos hidden. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. You think someone in this room is protecting her? Dante asked quietly. Dangerously. I think we have a traitor, Paolo said. Someone working against family interests. And this American photographer is the key to exposing them. The audacity was breathtaking. Paolo, the actual traitor, accusing the room of harboring one. Amelie's nails dug into her palms. Then an older man, Uncle Salvatore Dante had mentioned, spoke up. Paolo, you've been handling security for the port operations. If there's a leak, it's happening under your watch. Paolo's expression hardened. Which is why I'm proposing we bring in outside verification. Albanian associates who can. No. Dante's single word cut through the room like a blade. We don't bring outsiders into family business. Ever. Even to root out a traitor? Especially then. Dante stood, and the room's attention shifted to him like iron to a magnet. If there's a traitor, it's an internal matter. We handle it ourselves. The old way. Paolo's jaw clenched. And the photographer? Find her. Bring her to me. Dante's voice carried absolute authority. Unharmed. I'll personally review whatever evidence she has. If she's a threat, I'll handle it. If she's innocent, we let her go. We're not animals, Paolo. We don't kill civilians without cause. It was a masterful play. Asserting dominance while appearing reasonable. Boxing Paolo into a corner where refusing would look suspicious. But Paolo wasn't finished. Actually, cousin, there's something else. He pulled out his phone, tapped it, and another image appeared on the screen. Amelie's heart stopped. It was a photograph from this morning. Grainy, taken from a distance but unmistakable. Amelie entering the chapel. The timestamp read 6:47 a.m. This was taken by one of my men, Paolo said softly. The Costello family chapel. The one only you visit, Dante. The one you think is private. He let that sink in. The American photographer was there this morning. Which raises an interesting question. How did she know about a location that doesn't appear on any map? That's never mentioned outside the family. The room erupted in whispers. Dante's hand, still holding Amelie's under the table, tightened fractionally. A warning. Paolo's smile was venomous. Unless someone told her to go there. Someone who wanted to make contact without being seen. Someone who's been protecting her all along. Amelie's mind raced. This was it, the trap closing. Paolo had been watching Dante, probably for weeks, waiting for him to make a mistake. And by saving her, Dante had given his enemy exactly the ammunition he needed. That's quite a theory, Dante said, his voice arctic. Based on a photograph of a woman entering a chapel in a city full of tourists. Then you won't mind if we bring her in for questioning. Paolo gestured, and two of his men moved toward the door. My team has been tracking her. We have a location, a hostel near the port. We can have her here within the hour. Amelie's breath caught. They didn't know she was here, but they were closing in on where she'd been. And when they found that room empty, they'd expand the search. Eventually, they'd check Dante's properties. She had to do something. Say something. But before she could speak, Dante stood abruptly. Gentlemen, I think we need to address the real issue here. His voice cut through the tension like a knife. Paolo, you've been very concerned about this photographer. Very invested in finding her quickly. Almost desperately. Because she's a threat. Or because she saw something you don't want me to see. Dante's eyes were cold fire. You want to talk about traitors? Let's talk about the Albanian syndicate expanding into our ports. Let's talk about shipments going missing. Let's talk about Councillor Ricci's sudden interest in anti-corruption campaigns that somehow never touch Albanian operations. Paolo's face went white. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Dante pulled out his own phone. The photographer you're so eager to silence? She's already dead, Paolo. Found this morning in the harbor. Police are calling it a suicide. The lie was so bold, so unexpected, that the room went silent. Amelie realized what he was doing, creating a false trail, buying time, forcing Paolo's hand. But Paolo's expression had shifted from defensive to calculating. If she's dead, then the threat is eliminated. Good. Except for one thing. Dante's smile was razor-sharp. Before she died, she uploaded her photographs to a cloud server, with instructions to release them to the media if she disappeared. So whoever killed her just guaranteed those images go public. Paolo's control slipped. Just for a second, but Amelie saw it, raw panic in his eyes. Unless, Dante continued, whoever wanted her dead contacts her family, convinces them she's alive and safe, and gets the access codes to delete the files. Which would require knowing who she is, where she's from, and how to forge communication in her voice. He paused. Or you could just tell me why you're really so desperate to bury this cousin. The standoff was electric. Two predators circling, each waiting for the other to blink. Then Paolo's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. Gentlemen, excuse me. Urgent business. He left, his men following. The moment the door closed, the room erupted in arguments. Dante turned to Amelie, his voice so low only she could hear. We need to leave. Now. He just got confirmation you weren't at that hostel, which means he knows I was lying about you being dead. But as they stood to go, Uncle Salvatore blocked their path. His eyes went from Dante to Amelie, and understanding dawned slowly across his weathered face. Dio mio, he breathed. She's here. She's the photographer. And you brought her to a family meeting. Dante's hand moved to his weapon, but Salvatore held up his hands. I'm not your enemy, nephew. But you need to know, Paolo left because his men found something. Whatever he's planning, it's happening now. What did they find? Salvatore's expression was grim. Your penthouse security system has been compromised. He's been watching you since this morning. He knows she's been with you. He grabbed Dante's arm. It's not just about the photographs anymore. He's going to use this to prove you're working against the family. He's calling a vote tonight to remove you as head. Amelie felt the ground shift beneath her. By protecting her, Dante had handed Paolo exactly what he needed for his coup. I'm sorry, she whispered. I've destroyed everything. But Dante's eyes were burning with something fierce and uncompromising. No. You've given me the proof I needed that Paolo's a traitor. And now he's made his move too early, too desperately. He turned to Salvatore. How many can I count on? Maybe half. The others are scared. Paolo's been making promises, building alliances. Then we don't wait for a vote. Dante's decision was instant, absolute. We end this now. Tonight. Before he can consolidate power. He pulled Amelie close, his hand cupping her face with unexpected gentleness. I need you to trust me one more time. Can you do that? In his eyes she saw something that terrified her more than Paolo's threats. She saw a man willing to burn his empire to keep her safe. Dante, you don't have to. Yes, he said fiercely. I do. And in that moment everything changed. This wasn't just about strategy anymore. It wasn't just about revenge or proof or survival. Somewhere between the chapel and this room, between danger and protection, Amelie had stopped being a complication. She'd become the reason. They didn't make it to the car. Paolo's men were waiting in the courtyard. 8 of them, armed, blocking every exit. Paolo stood at the center, phone in hand, his smile triumphant. Going somewhere, cousin? Dante's hand went to his weapon, but Paolo shook his head. Your security team has been relieved of duty. Enzo's been detained. And the family is waiting inside for an emergency vote. His eyes shifted to Amelie. About your betrayal. This is a mistake, Paolo, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. No. The mistake was thinking I didn't know every move you've made. Paolo held up his phone showing surveillance footage. Amelie entering Dante's building, sitting in his penthouse, the two of them at the chapel. You've been harboring a witness to murder. Protecting her over family interests. That's treason, Dante. She's an innocent civilian. She's evidence of your weakness. Paolo's mask finally dropped, revealing the hatred beneath. You're exactly like your father, too soft, too moral, too weak to do what's necessary. He died because of it. And now, so will you. Amelie's blood ran cold. This wasn't just about a coup anymore. Dante seemed to realize it too. You're not calling a vote. You're planning an execution. The vote is a formality. By morning you'll be dead. Killed by the same random violence that took Antonio Messina. Tragic. Unexpected. And I'll be the grieving cousin who has no choice but to assume leadership. Paolo's gun appeared in his hand. The American dies too, of course. Can't have loose ends. The family won't accept this, Dante said, but Amelie heard something she'd never heard in his voice before, uncertainty. The family is tired of your rules, your honor, your old-fashioned morality. They want profit. Power. The Albanians offer both. Paolo gestured, and his men raised their weapons. Say goodbye, cousin. Then Salvatore's voice rang out from the doorway. Not everyone, Paolo. The old man stood with 5 others, family members still loyal to Dante. Armed but badly outnumbered. Paolo laughed. 6 against 8? And you think that saves him? No, Salvatore said grimly. But it gives him a choice. Paolo's smile widened. Here's the choice, Dante. You can fight, maybe you win, maybe you don't, but people die. Your uncles. Your cousins. Family blood spills tonight. Or. He pointed his gun directly at Amelie's head. You give me the girl and walk away. Leave Sicily. Renounce your claim. And I let you live. No, Amelie gasped. Dante, don't. 20 seconds, Paolo said. Choose. Your empire or her life. Amelie saw the calculation in Dante's eyes, the terrible weight of the decision. Everything he'd built, everyone who depended on him, his father's legacy, against the life of a woman he'd known for barely 12 hours. "Dante, please," she whispered. "Don't give up everything for me." But he was looking at her with an expression that broke her heart, like he'd already decided, and it was destroying him. "I need you to forgive me," he said quietly. Then he turned to Paolo. "I'll give you what you want. But not here. Not in front of the family. We do this privately. You, me, and the girl. No witnesses." Paolo considered, then nodded. "The East Garden. 5 minutes. Come alone, both of you. Or I start killing the old men who were stupid enough to stand with you." He left with his men. Salvatore grabbed Dante's arm. "It's a trap. He'll kill you both." "I know." Dante's voice was hollow. "But it's the only way to get Amelie out of the crossfire." "You have a plan?" "No." Dante looked at Amelie, and she saw the truth in his eyes. He was going to trade himself for her freedom. Somehow, some way he was going to make sure she survived this, even if it cost him everything. "Dante, there has to be another way." He pulled her close, his hand tangling in her hair, his forehead resting against hers. "In another life, Amelie Stratton, I would have done this differently. Taken you to dinner. Made you laugh. Had time. We still can," she said desperately. "We'll run. Both of us. Leave Sicily, start over. And become the hunted?" He smiled sadly. "That's no life. Not for you." He kissed her then. Fierce and gentle and final, like he was memorizing the feel of her, like he was saying goodbye. When he pulled back, Amelie was crying. "I won't let you die for me. You don't have a choice." He pressed something into her hand. "A key card. When we get to the garden, there's a service gate on the north wall. Enzo taught you the address of the safe house. When I give the signal, you run. Don't look back." "What signal?" His smile was devastating. "You'll know." They walked to the garden like condemned prisoners. Paolo waited by the fountain, gun in hand, his men positioned in the shadows. The trap was obvious. There was no escape, no angle Dante could play. "The photographs," Paolo demanded. "Where are they?" "Deleted," Dante lied smoothly. "All copies. You have my word." "Your word means nothing." Paolo's gun swung to Amelie. "But her life might. Last chance, cousin. Where are the photos?" Dante's jaw clenched. "In a safe deposit box. Bank of Palermo. I'm the only one with access. Then you'll withdraw them tomorrow. Under supervision." Paolo's smile was cruel. "See how easy that was? Now the girl dies and you—" "Wait," Amelie said, her voice shaking but clear. "The photos aren't deleted. And they're not in a bank." Dante's eyes went wide. "Amelie, don't. They're uploaded to 3 different cloud servers with deadman switches. If I don't log in every 12 hours, they automatically send to every major news outlet in Europe." The lie came easier than she expected. "Kill me, and you guarantee your own destruction." Paolo's gun trembled with rage. "You're bluffing. Try me." The standoff stretched, seconds feeling like hours. Then Paolo laughed. A sound devoid of humor. "Fine. Then you both die and I'll deal with the fallout. I've gotten very good at making problems disappear." His finger tightened on the trigger. And Dante moved, stepping between Paolo and Amelie, his body a shield, his choice made. "Run!" he shouted. The gunshot echoed through the garden like the end of the world. The bullet never reached Dante. Enzo appeared from the shadows like a ghost, tackling Paolo from the side. The shot went wild, shattering a garden statue. In the chaos that erupted, Amelie saw why Dante had never lost faith. Enzo hadn't been detained at all. It had been a counterplay. "Now, Amelie." Dante grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the north gate as gunfire erupted behind them. But she didn't run. Instead, she yanked him behind the fountain's cover, her hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. "Wait. Just wait. Are you insane? We need to move." "The photographs," she said breathlessly. "I didn't upload them to cloud servers. I'm not that smart. But you know what I did do." She pulled up her email, showing him. I sent them to my editor in Boston 12 hours ago. With a full explanation. She's been sitting on the story, waiting for my call to either publish or kill it. Dante's eyes widened. You've had leverage this entire time? I was a photographer before I was a damsel in distress. Her fingers flew across the screen. One email from me and this goes international. Paolo's face. Ricci's face. The Albanian connection. All of it. Behind them, Enzo was fighting a losing battle, outnumbered and outgunned. Paolo's voice rang out. Enough! Dante, you have 3 seconds before I execute your loyal dog. Then I come for you. Amelie looked at Dante. Do you trust me? The question he'd asked her hours ago now reversed. His answer came without hesitation. Yes. Then let me do this my way. She stood, hands raised, phone visible. Paolo, I have a deal for you. Amelie, no. Dante reached for her, but she was already stepping into the open. Paolo's gun swung to her. Enzo pinned beneath his men's weapons. You're not in a position to negotiate. Actually, I am. She held up her phone. My editor at Global Lens magazine has every photograph. Every detail. It's ready to publish. One word from me, one click. And by morning you're not just losing your coup. You're losing everything. The Albanians will cut you loose. Ricci will flip on you to save himself. And Dante won't need a family vote to destroy you. The law will do it for him. Paolo's face contorted with rage. Then I'll kill you before you can send it. The email is already drafted. It's set to send automatically in 60 seconds, unless I enter a code to stop it. She showed him the timer counting down on her screen. 45 seconds, Paolo. You can shoot me, but you can't stop what's coming. Boss, one of Paolo's men said nervously, lowering his weapon. If those photos go public, we're all implicated. Shut up. Paolo's gun hand wavered. 30 seconds, Amelie said, her voice steadier than her racing heart. Or you can let us walk out of here. All of us. Dante, Enzo, me. You keep the family business. Dante renounces his claim, leaves Sicily. The photos stay buried. Everyone lives. You expect me to believe you'll keep that bargain? 15 seconds. Decide. Dante had moved to her side. His presence solid and protective. He was ready to die with her if this gambit failed. She felt his hand find hers, their fingers interlocking. 10 seconds. Paolo, Dante said quietly. Take the deal. You get what you wanted. I'm gone. You lead. Just let it end here. Paolo's hatred was palpable, but so was his fear. The timer hit 5 seconds. 4, 3. Fine. Paolo lowered his gun. Go. All of you. But Dante, if you ever set foot in Sicily again, the deal is void. You're dead. Amelie's fingers trembled as she stopped the timer with 1 second remaining. The email had been a bluff. It wasn't set to autosend at all. But Paolo didn't know that. Enzo pulled himself up, bloodied but alive. Together, the three of them backed toward the gate, weapons trained on them the entire way. Only when they were in Enzo's car, speeding away from the estate, did Amelie allow herself to collapse against the seat. That was the most reckless, brilliant, terrifying thing I've ever witnessed, Dante said, his voice rough with adrenaline and something deeper. I learned from the best. She turned to him. But you were really going to give it all up. For me. I was going to give up everything, he corrected. Because somewhere between this morning and tonight, you stopped being a stranger I was protecting. You became the person I couldn't lose. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Enzo cleared his throat from the driver's seat. We need to get to the safe house, then out of the country. Paolo will honor the deal for now, but once he consolidates power, he'll come for us, Dante finished. Which means we have maybe 48 hours. To do what? Amelie asked. Dante's eyes met hers and she saw the fierce determination there. The man who'd built an empire wasn't going to run and hide forever. To finish this properly. Paolo thinks he's won. But he made one critical mistake. What's that? Dante's smile was dangerous and beautiful. He let us live. Which means we still have the photographs. We still have evidence. And now we have something else. We have nothing left to lose. He took Amelie's hand, bringing it to his lips. You saved my life tonight. Twice. Now I'm going to ask you to do something incredibly difficult. What? Help me save my family from itself. Help me expose Paolo. Protect the people who stood with me. And tear down his alliance before it destroys everything my father built. His thumb traced circles on her palm. And then when it's over, if we survive, have dinner with me. A real one. With wine and conversation and no one trying to kill us. Despite everything, the danger, the fear, the impossibility of their situation. Amelie laughed. You're asking me on a date while we're fleeing for our lives? I'm asking you to stay, he said quietly. Not run back to Boston. Not hide. Stay and fight with me. She should say no. Should get on the first flight home and never look back. This wasn't her world, her fight, her life. But when she looked at Dante, this dangerous, complicated man who'd protected her at the cost of everything, she knew her answer. What's the plan? She asked. His smile could have lit the darkness around them. We do what you do best. We tell the story. But not to a magazine. To the one person who can help us take Paolo down legally, permanently, and publicly. Who? Counselor Ricci, Dante said. The man has been playing both sides. It's time to make him choose one. And we're going to make sure he chooses us. Amelie's mind raced. We offer him immunity in exchange for testimony against Paolo and the Albanians. Exactly. He keeps his career, maybe even comes out looking like a hero who infiltrated organized crime. We get Paolo arrested on charges that will actually stick. The family stays intact without his poison. And we need to move fast, Enzo added. Before Paolo realizes those photos haven't actually been published. Amelie squeezed Dante's hand. Then let's go ruin your cousin's victory. For the first time since the chapel, hope flickered between them, fragile but real. They weren't running anymore. They were fighting back. Counselor Ricci lived in a villa that screamed respectability. All marble columns and manicured gardens, the kind of place that said honest public servant, while hiding the rot beneath. They arrived at 3 a.m. Enzo had already disabled the security system. Dante and Amelie found Ricci in his study, drinking expensive scotch, still dressed despite the hour. When they walked in, he barely flinched, like he'd been expecting this moment. Dante Costello, Ricci said wearily. I wondered when you'd figure it out. You're not surprised to see me. Dante's gun remained holstered but his hand stayed close. Why? Because Paolo is a vicious amateur who leaves bodies in his wake. Ricci poured 2 more glasses, sliding them across his desk. I've been in politics for 30 years. I know when a plan is collapsing. And your cousin's plan started falling apart the moment he decided murder was easier than discretion. Amelie stepped forward. Antonio Messina. Did you order his death? No. Ricci's eyes held genuine regret. That was Paolo's panicked move. Antonio was getting too close, asking questions about my anti-corruption initiatives. Paolo thought killing him would solve the problem. Instead, it created you. He looked at Amelie. The witness who wouldn't die. The photographs, Dante said. You know what they prove. That I'm facilitating an arms deal between the Albanian syndicate and several militia groups in North Africa. That I've been taking bribes. That I've betrayed every oath I ever took. Ricci drained his glass. Yes, I know exactly what they prove. Which is why I'm going to make you an offer before you make me one. Dante's eyes narrowed. I'm listening. Paolo contacted me 2 hours ago. Told me he'd eliminated you, that he's taking over the Costello operations, that our arrangement continues. Ricci smiled bitterly. Except I've been reading Paolo wrong from the start. I thought I was partnering with the pragmatic businessman. Turns out I was enabling a psychopath. He's already planning to expand the weapons pipeline, increase volume, eliminate anyone who questions him, including his Albanian partners once they're no longer useful. And you suddenly grew a conscience? Amelie asked. I grew a sense of self-preservation. Paolo is unstable. Eventually, he'll see me as a liability too. Ricci leaned forward. But you, Dante, you're exactly like your father. Ruthless when necessary, but you have lines you won't cross. You don't kill civilians. You don't deal in weapons that end up in war zones. You're a criminal with a code. Flattery won't save you, Dante said coldly. No. But cooperation might save us both. Ricci pulled out a laptop, opened it. For 6 months I've been keeping insurance. Recordings. Documents. Financial transfers. Everything that proves Paolo's operation, and my involvement. I was going to use it if he ever turned on me. He rotated the laptop to show them. Amelie's breath caught. It was a treasure trove of evidence. Audio of Paolo discussing the arms deals. Video of meetings with Albanian syndicate leaders. Bank records showing money flowing through shell corporations. Why show us this? Dante asked, though Amelie could see he already knew. Because I'm giving it to you. All of it. You turn it over to the federal prosecutors, the ones who aren't on anyone's payroll. Paolo goes to prison for the rest of his life. The Albanians lose their political protection and retreat. And I. Ricci's voice hardened. I testify against all of them. I become the brave whistleblower who infiltrated organized crime and brought down a weapons trafficking operation. You want immunity, Amelie said. You want to be the hero of your own crime. I want to survive. And I want Paolo buried so deep he never sees daylight again. Ricci looked at Dante. This deal works for both of us. You regain control of your family without a civil war. Paolo's supporters scatter when he's arrested. You get your empire back, I keep my life. Everyone wins. Except justice, Amelie said bitterly. You help traffic weapons. People probably died because of those guns. Yes, Ricci admitted. And I'll have to live with that. But the alternative is Paolo continues unchecked, the pipeline expands and hundreds more die. This way at least the bleeding stops. Dante was silent, weighing options with the same calculation Amelie had seen in the chapel, the brutal math of choosing between imperfect solutions. There's one problem with your plan, Dante said finally. Paolo. He thinks he's won. He's consolidating power right now. By morning, he'll have full control of my operations. If we wait for prosecutors and trials, he'll have time to eliminate witnesses, destroy evidence, maybe even disappear. So we don't wait, Amelie said suddenly. Both men turned to her. We force his hand. Make him come to us. Tonight. How? Ricci asked. Amelie's mind was racing, pieces falling into place. He thinks I'm either dead or running. He thinks Dante's broken, exiled. But what if we prove he lied to the family? What if we show them that Dante's alive, that Paolo fabricated the whole confrontation to seize power? Dante's eyes lit with understanding. The family won't tolerate that level of deception. Even his supporters would turn on him. But we need proof that he lied, Enzo said from the doorway where he'd been standing guard. Proof that happens in real time where the family can see it. A recorded confession, Amelie said. We get Paolo to admit what he's done. On video. And we broadcast it to the entire family simultaneously. He'll never confess, Ricci said. He will if he thinks he's already won. Dante was smiling now, dangerous and brilliant. If he thinks he's gloating to a defeated enemy in private. The plan crystallized quickly. Ricci would contact Paolo, tell him there was one loose end. Dante had been spotted alive, hiding at a specific location. Paolo would come personally. He wouldn't be able to resist finishing the job himself. And they'd be waiting. 2 hours later, they were in an abandoned warehouse by the port, the kind of location where bodies disappeared and no one asked questions. Amelie was positioned in a concealed room with camera equipment, recording everything. Enzo and 4 of Dante's most loyal men were hidden in the shadows. Ricci sat in his car a block away, ready to deliver the evidence to federal prosecutors the moment Paolo incriminated himself. Dante stood in the center of the empty warehouse, alone under a single light, looking every inch the defeated king. Paolo arrived with 3 men, his confidence radiating like heat. When he saw Dante, his smile was triumphant. "I have to admit, cousin, I'm almost disappointed. I thought you'd run farther than this." "Where would I go?" Dante's voice was hollow, broken. "This city is my life. Without it, I'm nothing. Finally, you understand." Paolo circled him like a predator. "Your father never learned that lesson. He thought honor mattered more than power. Look where it got him. You killed him." Not a question. A statement. "Of course I did." Paolo's admission was casual, careless, exactly what they needed. Made it look like the Russo family. You were so eager to believe it, so ready to go to war. It was almost too easy. In her hiding spot, Amelie made sure the camera captured every word, every frame of Paolo's face. "Why?" Dante asked. "He trusted you. Because he was weak. Like you. He actually cared about the people, about keeping violence away from civilians, about some outdated code of honor." Paolo's contempt was palpable. "The world changed, Dante. Your father didn't. You haven't. But I have. The Albanians. The weapons deals. That's your vision. That's evolution. Profit without sentiment. Power without conscience." Paolo pulled his gun, pressed it against Dante's temple. "I almost wish you could see what I'm going to build. But dead men don't get to witness the future." "They do if they're not actually defeated," Dante said quietly. Paolo's expression changed. "What?" The warehouse flooded with light. Enzo and the others emerged from hiding, weapons drawn. Paolo's men were disarmed before they could react. They'd been outnumbered the entire time. "Smile, Paolo," Dante said, pointing to the camera where Amelie stood. "You're live-streaming to every family member's phone. They've heard everything. Your confession to killing my father. Your contempt for our code. Your admission of the Albanian alliance." Paolo's face went white, then purple with rage. "You." "I learned from the best," Dante said, echoing Amelie's words from earlier. "You taught me that survival means being willing to do anything. You just never expected me to do it better." His phone buzzed with incoming messages, family members responding to the broadcast. Salvatore's text was simple. "The vote is unanimous. Paolo is excommunicated. Family business is yours again." "It's over," Dante said. "The prosecutors have all of Ricci's evidence. The family has your confession. You're done." Paolo lunged, but Enzo was faster, disarming him, forcing him to his knees. The man who'd been so arrogant minutes before was now just another criminal facing justice. "You can't do this," Paolo spat. "I'm family. You stopped being family when you killed my father." Dante's voice was ice. "Now you're just another traitor getting what he earned." Federal agents swarmed in minutes later. Ricci had kept his word. As they hauled Paolo away, he screamed threats and curses that echoed off the warehouse walls. When the chaos finally settled, when the last agent had left, Dante found Amelie standing by her camera equipment, hands shaking with adrenaline. "You did it," she said. "You got everything. Confession, evidence, justice. We did it." He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. "None of this happens without you. Your courage. Your crazy, reckless plans. I learned from a very dangerous man. Who learned from a very brilliant woman that sometimes the best weapon isn't a gun. It's the truth, told at exactly the right moment." He kissed her then. Not final and desperate like in the garden, but full of promise and possibility and tomorrow. When they finally pulled apart, Amelie smiled. "So about that dinner you promised?" "Dinner? Wine? Conversation? No one trying to kill us." Dante's smile was genuine, reaching his eyes for the first time since she'd met him. "I think I can arrange that." "In Sicily?" His expression grew serious. "Is that something you'd want? To stay? Because I need to rebuild here, reclaim what Paolo corrupted. It won't be easy or safe or normal." Amelie thought about Boston. Her apartment. Her normal life that suddenly seemed impossibly small compared to what she'd found here. I'm a photographer, she said. I go where the story is. And Dante Costello, you're the most interesting story I've ever found. His laugh was surprised and delighted, a sound she suspected few people ever heard from him. Then stay, he said. Tell our story. The real one. Not the criminal empire, but the family business trying to find redemption. The man trying to honor his father's memory by being better than his predecessors. On one condition. Name it. That dinner? I want it tomorrow. Not next week, not when things settle down. Tomorrow. Because we've earned it. Dante pulled her close, his kiss a promise he intended to keep. Tomorrow, he agreed. And every day after that, if you'll have them. The sunrise over Palermo was different this time. Amelie watched it from the balcony of Dante's penthouse, a cup of espresso warming her hands, the city spreading out below like a promise instead of a threat. Behind her she heard Dante on the phone, his voice firm but calm as he spoke with family members, rebuilding bridges Paolo had tried to burn. Enzo was coordinating with federal prosecutors. Ricci was already in protective custody, his testimony set to dismantle the entire Albanian operation. It was over. Really over. You're awake early, Dante said, joining her on the balcony. He looked tired but lighter somehow, like a weight had lifted from his shoulders. Couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline still. She smiled. Plus, I wanted to watch the sunrise. I almost didn't think I'd see another one. But you did. We did. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. The family voted this morning. Unanimous support for my leadership. Paolo's allies have either pledged loyalty or left Sicily entirely. And Paolo. Federal prison. No bail. Ricci's evidence plus his recorded confession means he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. Dante's voice held no triumph, just quiet satisfaction. My father can rest now. Justice finally found him. Amelie turned in his arms to face him. What happens now? To you? To all of this. Now I do what I should have done years ago. Clean house. The weapons deals, the violence, the corruption, it ends. We go back to what my grandfather built. Legitimate businesses with occasional gray areas. His smile was self-aware. I'm not becoming a saint, Amelie. But I can be better than Paolo. Better than what we've become. That's all anyone can ask. And you. His dark eyes searched hers. Your magazine is calling. Your editor wants the story of a lifetime. American photographer exposes Mafia coup. It would make your career. Amelie had thought about this during the sleepless night. The story was extraordinary. Career-defining. The kind of opportunity photographers dreamed about. I'm not writing that story, she said. Dante's eyebrows rose. Why not? Because some stories are more important than bylines. Because exposing your world completely would put good people at risk, the ones who stood with you who are trying to do better. She touched his face gently. And because I'd rather live the next chapter than publish the last one. You're choosing to stay. Not a question. A realization. I'm choosing you. This complicated, dangerous, impossible situation. Because in 3 days you've shown me more courage, more honor, more realness than I found in 28 years of playing it safe. Dante kissed her softly, thoroughly, like he was sealing a vow. That dinner I promised? It's happening tonight. Enzo's already made reservations at the best restaurant in Sicily. Enzo made our first date reservation? He has daughters. He knows romance. Dante's smile was genuine, warm. Besides, I've been a little busy overthrowing my traitorous cousin. Amelie laughed, the sound bright and free, echoing across the balcony. Fair point. After dinner, I want to show you the real Sicily. Not the violence or the crime but the beauty. The villages, the beaches, the history. The place my mother loved before everything went dark. His voice softened. I want to see it through your eyes. Your camera. Your perspective. A photography tour with a mafia boss as my guide? A photography tour with a man who's trying very hard to impress the brilliant, reckless American who saved his life and his soul in the same week. Behind them, Enzo appeared in the doorway, clearing his throat. Boss, the family is gathering for the official transition ceremony. They're waiting for you. Dante nodded, then turned back to Amelie. Come with me. I want them to meet you. Really meet you. Not as a witness or a complication, but as the woman who changed everything. I'm not exactly dressed for a Mafia ceremony. She gestured to her borrowed clothes. You're perfect exactly as you are. He took her hand. Besides, they already know what you did. Salvatore's been telling everyone about the American photographer, who stared down Paolo with nothing but a smartphone and pure courage. You're a legend now. Great. No pressure. But she went with him anyway, her hand secure in his, walking into a world that should have terrified her but somehow felt like coming home. The family gathering was smaller than the disastrous meeting that felt like a lifetime ago. The men and women present were the loyalists, the ones who'd stood with Dante or come back when Paolo's betrayal was exposed. Salvatore embraced Dante, then surprised Amelie by kissing both her cheeks. The American with the brave heart. You have our gratitude and our protection. Always. Others followed, offering respect, allegiance, welcome. Amelie realized she was being accepted not as an outsider, but as someone who'd earned her place through fire and blood. When the formalities ended, when Dante had officially reclaimed his position and outlined his vision for the family's future, he found Amelie on the terrace, camera in hand, photographing the gathered families, children playing, old men laughing, women sharing stories. This is what I wanted you to see, he said quietly. Not the violence. This. The family beneath the business. The people trying to live, love, survive. It's beautiful, she said, and meant it. So are you. He turned her to face him. I know this is fast. I know it's crazy. We met 4 days ago under the worst possible circumstances. But Amelie, I need you to know, what I feel for you isn't gratitude or adrenaline or proximity. It's real. Her heart stuttered. Dante. I'm not asking for promises or forever. Not yet. I'm just asking for honesty. For time. For the chance to see if what started in chaos can grow into something lasting. Amelie thought about the prayer she'd whispered in the chapel, desperate and afraid. She'd asked for a sign, for a way out, for salvation. She'd gotten all of that and more. She'd gotten a dangerous man with a code of honor. An impossible situation that revealed her own courage. A choice between safety and something extraordinary. That dinner tonight, she said. It's a beginning. Not an ending. I want to see where this goes. Who we become when no one's trying to kill us. Dante's smile was radiant. I can work with that. As the sun climbed higher over Palermo, Amelie Stratton, photographer, accidental hero, woman in love with the most complicated man she'd ever met, raised her camera and captured the moment. Not for a magazine, not for recognition, but because this was her story now. Their story. And she wanted to remember exactly how it felt when everything changed. When a prayer in an empty chapel brought her a guardian in a tailored suit. When fear transformed into courage. When a stranger became home. Dante pulled her close, and she let the camera drop to hang around her neck, choosing to live the moment instead of just documenting it. Thank you, he whispered against her hair. For what? For being brave enough to pray out loud. For giving me a reason to answer. And as the family celebrated around them, as Enzo made terrible jokes and Salvatore told embarrassing stories about young Dante, as the future stretched out uncertain but bright, Amelie understood something profound. Sometimes salvation doesn't look like escape. Sometimes it looks like a dangerous man choosing mercy. Sometimes it looks like standing your ground when every instinct says run. Sometimes it looks like love found in the last place you'd ever expect to find it. She'd come to Sicily for photographs. She'd found a life worth living instead. And that was the best story of all. We have come to the end of the story. Thank you for watching to the end. Share your opinion about this story in the comments below. I like getting feedback from my audience. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our heartwarming stories.